Will a Latin sentence always try to put the verb at the end?
Try not. Do or do not. There is no try.
Let's analyze actual Latin texts to see if this rule is real or just a myth. I'm Luke, and this is polýMATHY. In order to analyze this problem, all we have to do is go to the latinlibrary.com. And here we can see all of the classical Latin authors. Let's go to what is considered to be the core of Latin literature of the Republican era, of classical Latin, Caesar and Cicero. Well, if we go to one of the most famous pieces of Caesar's writings, the very beginning of the Gallic Wars, Galliaest omnis divis in partes tres. The second word in the whole thing is the main verb of the sentence. Now, if we look further, we can see incolunt belgae, so the end of this phrase is not the verb, appellantur a. So this entire sentence does end with a verb, appellantur. They are called Galli, the Gauls. Hi omnis lingua institutis legibus inter se differunt. Okay, so this sentence definitely ends with the verb. Dividit, that sentence does. And then if we get to the next one, absunt, that phrase does. Important, okay. Incolunt, that one does. Gerunt. So there is a certain amount of frequency of verbs finishing phrases and sentences. This absolutely happens in Latin, and it is good Latin to do so. But to exclusively end sentences that way is not in fact good Latin style. It has to be a mix. How exactly we mix that is a matter of the author's styles that we are imitating. Here we see attingit, this is in the middle of the phrase, vergit ad septentriones. Here we see spectat, that's in the middle as well, and so forth. So we can find all kinds of examples. So why is this taught? Why is it taught that Latin must have the verb at the end of the sentence? Well, it's only taught if it's simply not true. Latin does not require the verb at the end of the sentence. The verb may occur anywhere. Latin word order is extremely flexible. But the reason that it's often taught, especially to beginners, that, hey, look, here are some basic Latin sentences. Here is the verb at the end of the sentence, is a great way to demonstrate a particular peculiarity of Latin syntax, that in fact the verb can end the sentence. And this is not a characteristic of, say, English or Italian or many other Western European languages where the verb doesn't come at the end very often. Let's take a look at the other foundation of classical literature, Cicero. Let's hunt for some verbs. Quae res in civitate duae plurimum possunt, okay, end of phrase verb, ea contra nos ambae faciunt in hoc tempore. So there's the verb in the middle of the phrase. Summa gratia et eloquentia. Quaru alterum, verior, I fear, alterum metuo. So this phrase does end with a verb, impediat, commoveor, noceat, pertimesco. Videretur. Essent. Here is si in nobis est in saltem mediocria. So indeed, the verb can finish a sentence, that's perfectly right, but it's not the only place for the Latin verb in good Latin. Let's take a look at the very famous in Catilinam. Quousque tanda butere patientia nostra. There it is, the main verb. Will you abuse our patience? For how much longer? For how long will you go on abusing our patience, Catiline? Abutere. Right there in the middle of the phrase. But then we have eludet. Then we have iactabit audacia. Effrenat iactabit audacia. So here, the verb is not at the end of the sentence again. Further, moerunt is at the end. Sentis, vides, egeris, furis, convocaveris, sceperis, arbitraris, intellegit, vivit, venit, videmur, machinaris, vitemus. So the verb does happen at the end frequently, but this is not the main rule. The main rule is that Latin syntax is quite flexible, and that where certain subjects, objects, verbs, where those occur is a matter of style and less of strict grammar. One more Ciceronian example, his first set of letters here, esescio, So that phrase has the verb at the end. Ratio est, possit, okay. Prensat, well, that's the verb at the very beginning of the sentence. That can happen too. The verb can happen anywhere. Negatur, at the end of the sentence. And opinio est hominum, so est, right in the beginning. And dicant spero is right in the beginning. Ita quidam spero, I hope. And then so forth. All these things that follow his hope. So the verb can happen at the end. It can happen at the beginning. It can happen in all sorts of places. Erit. The verbs for to be, in my experience, tend to have some more frequency earlier in a phrase, but that's just an observation. There have been actual statistical works done about this, where people have actually analyzed how frequently does the verb come at the end in different authors, and it's different for different authors. So even the very foundation of Latin literature, that is Caesar and Cicero, demonstrate to us that the notion that Latin is a subject-object-verb language, SVO syntax, that is only one of the possibilities in Latin. In reality, Latin is not exclusively SOV, nor is it SVO. It could be any number of combinations. Italian and English, for example, tend to be considered SVO, subject, verb, object. Latin fits that pattern as well as SOV. This is different from, say, Japanese, where the main verb of the sentence really does need to come at the end of pretty much every single sentence in that language. So Latin is quite different. It is not so strict when it comes to syntax. I also recommend this video by Found in Antiquity, where Carla talks about Latin syntax and parsing. It's related to this topic, and I think you'll find it interesting. And I hope you found this informative. Thank you so much for liking, sharing, and subscribing. Valete.